of the questions have been answered somewhat. I guess my greatest concern, it sounds like re-injection is a given. Is that correct? I'm hearing you say that over and over
I'm not
again.
the ruler of that, as the CPUC will be the one to approve or not approve that.
Okay, well, but you've mentioned it quite a few times. And do all of the oil wells have to be inspected first before that decision is made?
Again, since I'm not making that decision, I mean, I can't speak for them. I just know that they're being tested, and that will probably factor in.
How many of the wells are over 50 years old, similar to the one that, I call it exploded, not leaked? How many of the wells are over 50 years old?
I'm not, don't know that unfortunately, but I'm assuming a lot.
All right.
Can I ask you to have your question about the air issue and the
I
monitoring
know,
issue?
but see, what happened was what he keeps saying about re-injection, and it sounds really like the decision has been made, so I'm getting a little nervous. Now, is there still natural gas being stored, or have the wells been emptied? Because I've heard some conflicting. There is still natural gas?
I believe there is a lower pressure than it was when.
Right. Is that the methane that you're starting to sense, or the up and down levels? Is it because of that?
As reported, there are some fluctuations within the methane levels, and it's a potential that that would be some of the methane. The wind directions correlate to that. So as far as like when looking at the wind direction versus when some of the elevated levels are seen, it would be suggestive of directions.
Okay, and this is my last question, because I'm really trying to understand this. Is it the methane that's already in our air and our atmosphere that you're testing, or is it new methane coming up, and can you tell the difference?
So as far as the difference, whether, if I understand the question correctly, can I tell the difference between what normal background methane, what mixed methane is in the typical atmosphere versus what would be coming off of the well? So the quick answer to your question would be, depends on how much is coming from the local source. There are other gases that provide a signature for which I would be able to determine whether that came from the
If it's
facility.
new or the old?
Right. I mean, for example, so during the time of the leak, there were, as mentioned in the graph and showed in the graph, there were very high levels. During those high levels, we were able to capture some samples that could go through a full laboratory analysis. And from that laboratory analysis, we could see that there are some signature compounds that would be not consistent with what typical well-mixed background methane and normal air would look like. So if there's enough, yes, I can tell the difference.
Right. You said that it would be normal to have some methane being emitted all the time or periodically. And so I'm just worried, being a community member, we have to live with this? Is that what
Well,
you're
I mean,
saying?
the good news is that when looking at the overall air quality, I mean, when we do the analysis of the air right now, it is, when we compare that to other areas within the South Coast Basin, when you're looking at some air toxics, and you're looking at some of the other components that are more of concern,
Right.
because some of these air toxics have other sources, this is actually a pretty clean community when you're looking across the board at the other components.
That's scary.
I mean, it is scary. But you have to figure, I mean, there's a lot of sources, whether it be like cars, whether it be trucks, whether it be the ships from the port. I mean, those are all pollution that, this community doesn't have to worry as much about than other communities.
We're not as bad as Long Beach, you're saying.
So, I mean, there's other communities that are impacted by it.
Thank you.
So, it's,
And then Helen?
Thank you. So, if a factory or a gas station, you guys go through this whole hearings and everything, and you come up with an order for abatement for them, how long do they have to comply?
I haven't witnessed those type of cases. I think I can come back to you with an answer. I can ask our legal department. Kind of average.
Is it open-ended? Do you at least know if it's open-ended and can be carried on for, how long has it been since this quarter?
Based on the hearing board and the particular case. But I mean...
Case-by-case basis.
Yes. But I can ask legal to see what kind of, if they have an average for you.
So let's say they're issued an order and there's whatever things on an order of abatement and they do not comply with this order of abatement? What happens?
As mentioned by the definition of the order of abatement, if they don't comply within a reasonable amount of time, then that particular station would be ordered to shut down.
Reasonable. What's reasonable?
Depends on the case.
So it's not really an abatement order then. It's kind of a good idea. Because this has been carried out quite a long time. And especially with this health study. Are you guys waiting for people to move away from the neighborhood? Because a lot of people are moving that are mostly affected. Are you serving SoCal Gas or are you serving the community? This is a health issue.
Matt, can you ask him a question?
I'm asking him, are you guys serving SoCal Gas's needs or are you serving the health issues because you're the air quality board which relates to people's health issues? Now, so you ordered SoCal Gas to do a health study. What is the problem?
So, as mentioned, we're contested on that particular item, which is...
You're contested. If the station on the corner was contested, you just said they'd be shut down.
So that's why we're taking them to court.
It's been how many months since the abatement order has been issued? Okay, one last question. No, that'll be it for now. Well, yeah, no, one last question. You did say earlier that mercaptans are considered toxic.
I said that was a compound of concern. That was one that...
No, actually, I can play you back the video. You said it was a toxic compound. Is that correct?
It has potential health effects.
No, you actually said toxic.
Well, if so, then that's... I mean, if I've misspoken and said they're toxic, but...
Okay, what else have you been spoken about here today then? I mean, you're here as an expert to speak on all this stuff, and you just said it's toxic. I'll play you back the video right now. Is it or is it not toxic?
It has some health effects.
All right, thank you.
Helen and then Donna.
This question has been touched on before, but I just want to make sure. You said that this place is never going to be sealed. There's always going to be methane gas coming out of it. And we're going to be poisoned by that. Is that what you said?
So, all I said is that it's difficult to perfectly seal. I mean, if you've got a lot of parts, if you've got a lot of pipeline, you know, I don't think that practically that everything can be perfectly sealed, like airtight, 100%.
And that's okay with you guys? That we keep getting poisoned by that?
I mean, there are certain levels of health concern, which is why we develop health criteria.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't violate those health criteria, then, you know, action isn't done.
Yeah, if this place was necessary, if it was, life was dependent on it, I could understand. But this place is not very necessary.
No.
We don't even need the place. So why is it okay with you guys for us keep getting poisoned, for somebody else making some benefit out of this, financial benefits? This is our health, and you're supposed to be caring about our health, right?
Well, that's why they're permitted to be within certain conditions to be health protected.
Yeah, but
That's
if
why
I
we're
were
there.
you, I would just say shut it all down because we really don't need the facility. But we are getting sick because of it, and you know that we're getting sick because of it, and you know that we will keep always getting sick because of it. Because this place, as you said, is never going to be sealed completely. Did I understand you right?
Well, 100%.
Thank
is
you.
not going to be.
Yes. Thank you.
Donna? Last comment.
Hi, I'm Donna Sears. I just have one question, and that is, what stops you from establishing criteria that benefit humans as opposed to a corporation?
So the criteria were based upon health expert standards. So I mean, that's what we go by.
Right, but in terms of the standards, in terms of the community, as close as Alicio Canyon is, and as much as A, they have leaks, B, it's basically a commodity area where they're selling it to other areas for their profit. So it seems to me, based upon the criteria, they could have like 5 days and they would be in compliance. My question is, what stops you from making compliance to benefit people, not Southern California Gas?
The criteria that were set out were health protective. I mean, that's why we made the conditions relative to the mercaptans and relative to benzene and levels that we can measure, which is nothing, to determine whether they were exposure to fugitive emissions or natural gas.
But then but they've never studied us, so that we don't really know how it's impacting us.
Well, that's why we had pushed for the health study as part of our work with Cleveland. And that's why we're pursuing that with litigation and looking for the independent health consultants to derive that scope appropriate for this event.
They're not that hard to find. Please.
So then if I understand you correctly, and I said one, I guess, of my question then is, if there's going to be injection, it's going to be into criteria that will benefit Southern California Gas. The idea of closing it down to benefit humans, to benefit the people here, as well as all of Los Angeles, is not the criteria. And my question still is, what stops you from making that the criteria?
The hearing board is going to review that, and they're the ones that have, they're the ones that can give input to that. Just
All right. Okay, Jason, thank you very much for being here today. I know we have a lot of things we disagree on, but the conversation will continue, and I know the next one will be on Saturday, so we'll see you there. Thank you.